Right, Moderator, welcome to this Alumni Futures Summit 2023. We called it From Panels to Presidents, and I'm happy to see that so many of you came to see me go away. Thank you for that, really appreciate it. My name is Zoran Pejović, and I'm the currently outgoing president of the RIT Croatia Alumni Association. I've been the president for the past 3 years, and it was not the most funny 3 years to be the president because we couldn't have so many gatherings and parties, but I will be handing over at the end of this event the presidency to my dear colleague Angela. I'm sure that we are keeping the Alumni Association in the good hands. Just a little information, we have changed the format of the voting. These information have gone out on several occasions, but just to clarify once again, for the first time we didn't have a general elections. We have something that we call Alumni Advisory Board. Alumni Advisory Board consists of all the former alumni presidents and student government presidents. The idea was that we have people from all the generations, because back in the day when some of us studied, it was we all knew each other and we were a smaller community. Now we span 26 years, and you know there is a major difference. There are actually, I think, some former alumni's kids who are already graduating. So I think that tells you enough about where we've come. We've come a long way. Because of that, we needed to change the system, and we aligned ourselves with the RIT, global RIT alumni bylaws, where they also don't have general elections. Everybody can nominate people, but the people who vote are the Alumni Advisory Board. So later on, our new dean and president, Irena, will present the new vice president, who in turn will become a new president in 3 years. The major change here is that we have a continuity of leadership. So my dear friend and colleague Angela, who has been the vice president for the past 3 years, will become the new president, and then the new vice president in 3 years will become the new president. So in that way, we have a continuity, and I think that way we don't start every time from scratch in the beginning. And all of us who former presidents will stay part of the advisory board. All right, so there was a little bit about the voting process. We are actually having 2 beautiful panels today. One will be led by me, another one by my dear colleague Tana, who I have not seen since probably our graduation 20 years ago. So I always love these occasions because we actually get to see each other after so many years. Many of us, again, like I said, back in the day, it all seemed so innocent, and you know, like, oh, what have you done the last year? Now it's like, what have you been doing for the past 2 decades? Which makes it a slightly different story to tell. It's like, grab a whiskey. All right, so I would like to invite, this is a panel of heavy hitters. I would like to invite Tana Zimmermann, co-founder of Bazzar.hr. She's going to be here on the stage. Perhaps maybe you could grab a seat there.
Thank you.
Lovro Čulina, head of sales at TalentLyft. Dragan Mrkajić. All right. Group Data and AI Director at Fortenova Group. You see why we invited him, right? And my dear friend Izet Ždralović, co-founder and senior advisor at Microblink. So the question we will tackle today is the balance of tech and touch. And the question is, are LLMs eroding the human element? Actually, this is a topic that I'm very much interested in, because even though actually from this generation, I know for sure that 4 of us studied the hospitality side of things. Lovro, I'm not sure about you. I did, okay. But we all, and most of you who studied with us the hospitality side of things, you will probably remember how much we spoke about high touch, high tech, how we, you know, especially as you move up into the luxury segment, you need to remain high touch. and how is this all changing our industry. So now I will take a seat, and we will. Yeah, I don't know what happened. This is all Leo's fault. All right, so I know it's an interesting day that we are having this debate or discussion, because I just read a couple hours ago that today and yesterday has been probably the greatest outage of OpenAI that happened in the last 48 hours, whether it's a hacker attack or whatever. And it just made me thinking how dependent now a lot of businesses have already become, even though it's been with us for such a short time. And then another thing that I have been thinking about is how it's becoming obvious, I don't know, for you who are on LinkedIn or other platforms, where you are starting to notice that things are coming out and you can tell it's not written by those people, especially when you know how somebody wrote 6 months ago, and then all of a sudden now there are these essays, and it just reminds me of our professor Tana, who was teaching us about how to write essays, and I'm thinking like she would be quite proud of some of these guys, how quickly they have developed their skills. So so that's I have this bit of a up and down relationship with the AI, especially with the ChatGPT, because I don't think it keeps my voice as I would like it, so I actually don't like to use it that much, but sometimes I find it useful as well. So before we dive into the philosophical and practical considerations of the role of these new technologies in our lives and businesses, I would like to invite all of you to give us just like 1 minute insight whether you and your businesses use ChatGPT and GPT and any other AIs in your daily lives and daily operations. Let's start with you, Tana.
Thank you. As much as the questions and everything is a little bit about hospitality, since we're not really into that, but we still have customer service. Actually, the whole department that takes care of our customers. So we're talking about online shop. I cannot tell you how many times a week I get an offer from some amazing new company who has amazing new software that will replace 25 of our agents, but I would say thankfully for now we still didn't switch to that.
You're resisting. Why is
this? Because e-commerce in Croatia is still not on a high level, and people expect real answers, and as much as AI can sometimes be quite good, as you can say, most of the questions it cannot answer. The basic ones, where is my order and stuff like that, yeah, it can do it, and we use things like that, but the biggest thing is that people still need the human touch. So I'm not saying that maybe in 10 years when people get used to the typical things that happen in e-commerce, maybe you can use it, and definitely we will. And you can see it in other markets as being widely used, but I think that the region where we are is still not ready for AI in that way. But in other things that we do on a daily basis, for example, the product descriptions, implementing search filters for, I don't know, width of the couch, color of the couch, taking out all this, reading through this and placing this data for customers to be able to search. This is an amazing thing.
I see, but that doesn't really take us into this direction of the interacting with the clients, right?
This is
more for on your
so for the back office amazing
and,
thing, but for the clients still not.
Lovro.
In TalentLyft we use it mostly for admin work. Meaning, for example, when it comes to sales, we have a list of leads, their first name, last name, company name, and we use it basically to polish that data to remove trade abbreviations so that they can fit into email templates, right? We also use it as a starting point for some document creation processes.
Do you personally use it?
Yeah, I do. For example, now I'm writing like an onboarding plan for the new employee. and it's a great starting point. It gives you like a great structure that I can work upon. And then from a strategic point of view, we use it for advanced data analysis. So for example, we downloaded all the data from our CRM, uploaded it to ChatGPT for advanced data analysis, and asked some questions that we probably would have need a data scientist to answer, like the heat map when it comes to closing deals at certain point of the year at certain industries. So that kind of helped us shape up our sales strategy and answer some questions that we probably wouldn't know how to answer.
Dragan, you work for a very large company, and I guess implementing something like this in a small scale, small startup, and in a company of your size is a different thing. So do you guys use large language learning models? Do you use GPT in your daily life, personally, in business?
Let me see if it works. Okay, so yes, we do. So this is a short answer. Basically, what happened with Fortenova Grupa, I joined in 2019. It seems like it's only a few years, but time is flying by really fast. So at that point of time, we were defining what is the long-term strategy for the group. So we defined the strategy for retail, food segment, agri segment, and so on. And then after we said, okay, we have to do something on the front of a digital transformation. And the key pillar of this is basically data and analytic transformation. So we basically went into the way that we founded a startup within Fortenova, which works in a very similar way like a startup, but it's only dealing with data. So, and there we basically wanted to, first we went into the retail segment, so we operate in 5 markets, retail, so it's basically Konzum, Mercator in Slovenia, Serbia, Bosnia, and Montenegro. And just to put it into the context is that there is around 40 terabytes of structured data. So there's a very good quality of data. And taking into account that around between 70 to 80% of customers, because each of the business also has the loyalty card business, Multiples in Croatia, Pika in Slovenia, and so on. And they swipe, 70 to 80% of customers swipe cards. So you have so much data and understanding about the customers and demographics, but we didn't use it that much. So then the idea behind this Fortenova Grupa Data Lab was to really go from data rich to data driven. And here, we can talk a lot about that, but it's basically, we are focusing for the time being around core processes of retail. So it's optimization of assortment, which assortment should be in which store, at what time, at what price. It's about the accurate demand forecasting. So we use the neural networks how to predict the demand, especially for the fresh and ultra fresh items, and pricing. And then we also use, as of a year ago, we started to use, since our strategic partner is Google, we basically had access to very early stages of Palm, of their LLM models, which we built into the assortments. Yeah, not the chatbot, like we do chatbots now for some of the companies, like the beverage group, Janica, but we first started to use LLMs internally. So it's basically, if you want to provide attributes to assortment, person can definitely.
So it's like marketing.
No, but it's like, like how do you, if you have this bottle, like this, here, in the attributes, in the field, master data management, you have this a glass bottle, it's, I don't know, like 1 liter, whatever. But, if you're having different snacks, like it gives, it's a crunchy food, it's a small package, it's like healthy, so these kind of attributes, which helps you later to fuel machine learning models to provide better predictions.
Wow. Izet, we moved to, I thought that it was perfect to close this round with you, with your experience in startups, scaling up, being on the side of the technological revolution, not just nationally but globally, and I think we are all always very proud to bring your name as one of the most successful R&D Croatia alums. But how about you? Do you use it personally first?
Personally, actually, I use it. I use it today. I first jot down the answers to your proposed questions, and after that, I'm like, let's just see what the OpenAI will say. And we're about, we got the similar points. Anyways, no, for Microblink and Photomath, in the past we haven't used AI as you see today, but we've used specialized models in computer vision, and that's where we made we used the niche, like a very small part for computer vision, where we used algorithms and neural networks to perform much better than anyone else in the world to achieve the results that we did. And for me, very frankly, the generative AI phenomena was expected. I did not expect it as soon as it happened. Currently, we're utilizing it certainly for customer care. So, the team members are using it on a daily basis. We're using it for content generation as well. The beauty of it is that currently, there's no excuse for employees to say that we cannot write well, because of the point you said. It's because you can jot down the points, please create a narrative story about this. Here are the points, and then you put it in there, and it spits it out in a way where it sounds very legit and reasonable for anyone to read. And I guess the third part that was also mentioned is analyzing the data and making better informed decisions. That's something that we do. We used to do it before, but now it's much easier to do it, as Lovro mentioned. I think there's no, at this stage, there should not be fear. It should, it's adoption time, and I think one of the reasons why it's going down is Microsoft is still not making money on it. So for each prompt that you're writing in, they're losing money, actually, especially if you're using the free version. As I said, the processing power that they need to have in the back end to do what they're doing is just enormous. So I think that the main question here is, and we'll probably get to it later on in the discussion, is how to position ourselves and to see what are the areas that will be most affected in a negative way with the generative AI, and what are the things we can do to make it better within the hospitality industry or in general. But we'll get to that.
I would like actually to stay with you with another question. And I don't know if you have much experience in your life with the regulatory bodies, but you might have had some, given that you scaled up in different countries. And so as this technology continues to position itself more and more relevantly in our lives and businesses, do you think that there should be any safeguards put in place to preserve the human touch and the interactions in hospitality or in any other industry? Let me preface that by saying that in principle, I am personally always for as little government intervention as possible. But then on the other hand, when I think of the bioweapons or nuclear weapons, I don't have a problem that the government tracks people who are trying to build a nuclear bomb in their backyard. So when it comes to these new technologies, do you see them as that type of technology that we need to put some strong safeguards in place in order for it not to go bananas and just misunderstand one query and take the whole world out? Or what are your thoughts on this?
I think in general I see human people as very positive, and generally I would say the least possible regulation. But for this one, I would say that some safeguards need to be put in place. To go back to the hospitality industry, I think if you do let the technology take over completely, which we could do, I think it will kill the delight element of hospitality, and that goes I wouldn't enjoy that personally, and I think none of you would as well, because I think it's that human touch and delight where you get positively surprised about something as something that gives you a rush. It's a tough one.
For example, when it comes to chatbots, should one always know that they are talking to a chatbot instead of, so they are not confused, they know you're talking to a chatbot?
I think there's an example. Actually, there's a company that one of the ventures that I'm in is considering investing or has already invested. It highly depends on the market. So this company is currently practically what they're doing is they're doing the filtering or initial interviews with all the students in the Philippines, where a process for an HR person would cost about $15 or $20 per person. Now they're doing it completely automatically via, you're looking at the mobile phone and a robot, and they're talking to you. Obviously, these people know that they're talking to a robot. I don't think the same process would ever fly in Croatia or in Europe or in the US, at least for now. So, but to go back, yeah, I certainly think that that it would be fair that the customer is given the information they're talking to.
Anybody else would like to jump on this one? Or
Well, so I think that in the speed at which some countries or markets would adopt, talking to the bots, it also depends what is the cost of the labor. So the cheaper that is, that there's least likelihood that you would need to employ. When the prices go up, so it's very similar to the fact, why in some supermarkets in Switzerland and Germany you have electronic price tags, because the cost of labor is so high that the ROI is like 3 years. In Croatia, it's like 7-8 years, because they're still not there in the reverse way. So similar to this, I think that the companies today are actually very quite open about it. That they give you an info that there is a chat, and at any given point of time, you can switch to the agent. And what I've seen, experienced, and we talk a lot with Google, and what we are building right now, they basically are implementing that every like 6-7 transactions of word which you exchange with a bot, you can always ask, do you want to be transferred to the bot, or you can just write bot and then you go directly to the agent. So I never think, for me it's a very radical, and I don't like to put into the words that technology will take over. It's like it's for me it's going to be like human and technology. It's
sure.
not a replacement. It's really an aid.
For example, how do you know? I get a voice message to your audio file of Andrej Plenković saying something about the Romerkove water, which obviously he didn't say, but this was done by some. But
this has happened before. Like that's like
so
nothing new. Like deepfakes have been always there.
Yeah.
So it's like.
I know, but should we put some regulation in place?
But there is. I mean, there is now. I think it's like a third round of discussions. Like in the EU, they're putting a lot of frameworks. I know that we as a company, we've been approached by the EU. It's like to put basically our compliance unit and legal unit and InfoSec unit are basically taking the best recommendations. Like now we put out a cookbook we call it like Fortenova cookbook for ChatGPT and Bard for OpenAI. And there is like some guidelines how you should use it, because they're also like different versions. It's an unpaid version. Whatever you put in, like summarize this, management report. Wow. The data, it's going there. Like they have ownership of data, and then they can provide this data to you if you ask some query which has something which is in my report. So I think it's especially from the business side, companies have to create a framework for employees to use these technologies in a closed loop systems. So I think this is the way to go.
All right, Lovro, I would like to ask you something, because you are in the. We actually use at my current company, one of the companies that I work with, we use your technology. So Lovro works for TalentLyft. You can actually take a minute to explain what it is that you guys do. But I wanted to ask you about the role of trust in this, because when you're in HR, it's a lot about trust, right? And now there is a technology that mediates in between, this technology that mediates between two, because you are still edge to edge, human to human, and then there is a technology in between. What does it do to trust? Does it increase the trust? Does it reduce the trust? And what happens with this when these algorithms replace some of the intuitive understanding that comes from this human to human interaction? Because I can tell you from recruiting, and I have done probably over 3,000 interviews in the past 20 years recruiting people, and I've found some of the most amazing people who would never pass any of these automatic checks because they don't fit the requirements. So what are your thoughts about this? But please tell us a sentence about what your company does.
So TalentLyft is a recruitment software that helps companies basically automate the hiring process, from posting job openings to managing applications, building a career page, and then also having the analytics to analyze. To your points, in terms of how AI could potentially replace these human-to-human interactions. Again, it depends. If we take 20 top, recruitment experts from the hospitality industries as like to train the AI model based on their research or their expertise, the chances are that this AI will be better in evaluating a candidate than someone who's never done recruitment in their life. But then again, if you take one of those top 20 experts and compare it to the generated AI model, again, I think the expert themselves will do a much better job.
Can I just add? But there is a difference. Like probably the candidates where you were hiring, like they would never go with this kind of mass hiring. You can utilize this technology. If you're having factory workers on, like if you have somebody cashiers, like a blue collar, for that kind of makes sense. So.
Thank you, Will. You're so kind. True hospitality professional. Yeah, okay guys, keep it coming. All right. Yeah, no, okay, Lovro. I mean, anything more about this? Do you think that this technology increases the trust or decreases the trust? Because, again, and we all have, most of us have gone through some. Unfortunately enough, I have not been in the recruitment process myself since in the past 15 years. But I remember back in the day, this is like when nobody answers you, right? It's quite like disappointing. You never get that answer. You don't know if you get the job. Is there going to be a second process? But now the AI kind of does it, and so at least you know where you sit. So is that something that you think generates the trust, or people just feel, it's a bot, nobody even read the? Do you have any insights into this?
Yeah,
you might not, but I just thought you might.
I guess it depends from the company to company. For example, for the past, 10 years there have been disqualifying questions in various recruitment software. So when you're applying for a job and then you select the wrong answer, you might get disqualified immediately, and you don't even know it, right? But when it comes to AI and how it's being incorporated into recruitment and recruitment software, it's mainly to summarize the main points. So for example, when someone receives a CV in TalentLyft, we have an AI that basically does a summary of that candidate and compares it to the job description to kind of determine whether or not this is a good fit or not. But it never kind of engages with candidates on their own. It's always up to the recruiter to review this information to make a decision, as well as when it comes to ranking candidates, especially for blue-collar workers. When you get hundreds and hundreds of applications, AI can do a really good job in kind of ranking those applications and save time for recruiters.
Okay, thank you so much, Tana. So there's this the question I wanted to ask you about. Given that you, and I think most of the people know what you do and what Bazzar does, but if you feel like you want to give a sentence about that, you're more than welcome. But given that you've taken this company from the home office to be now multinational, you understand this personalization that goes right into the customer journey and how to attract, how to follow somebody down the road and catch them somewhere at some point so that they buy. Do you feel that this hyper-personalization, which is obviously driven by data analytics and it just feeds into it, does it, while it enhances customer experience, do you think that it also creates kind of an uncanny valley where things can be too tailored and then all of a sudden less authentic? And how do we reinsert some kind of serendipity into this process again, so that so that I don't just get the recommendation for the suits with the stripes, just like maybe something different, because they see me once and then all day long I just get recommendations for new suits that look the same.
Yes, this is something that's actually happening quite a lot. That one person is buying something and then you get bombarded. So what happens most often is when you buy someone a gift, and then we bombard you. For example, when we started with baby equipment first, and this is one thing we said we will never do it that way, because someone had a baby in 2018, and we're still sending in emails about diapers. Doesn't really make sense. So definitely with AI, yes, you can see some trends and you can make some suggestions, but it has to, first of all, it has to update quite often. So yeah, to answer your question, definitely this very strict targeting based just on a few clicks and on maybe one purchase or two purchases in a row or something is not really a good thing to do. So we often like to combine one, your own personal interest, whatever you said, compared to what you are doing, and then trying to find a fit. For some specific categories, we tend to ask clients, I think, a few times a year, are you still interested in this? Because probably all of us know, remember what you liked 4 years ago? Is it still the same thing? Is it still the same color, the same, I don't know, brand, or whatever? So, you know, as things evolve, we should update that. So.
How do you detect new trends?
Yeah, Dragan, please jump in because this is
I
something.
wanted to ask her a question.
Yeah.
How do you detect like new trends?
Well, right now we see the spike in something, and then you just analyze what's happening. That's one thing. The second thing is following some kind of trends, but AI is a good thing that can tell you know something is happening here. So
Or elsewhere, and then it's going to come.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking the other day, ran into a company from southern Italy that sells some socks. I mean, like, I think for the past 2 weeks I've seen more ads for socks than, I'm not buying socks anymore. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, sometimes wherever you go, whatever you do, it just follows you. I know how programmatic advertising works. It's something we do, and everything is, but just it becomes at one point like, okay, guys, like.
Yeah.
But very soon we're going to be living in a cookieless world, so they will not follow you as much.
Yeah, but I actually contacted a company a few weeks ago, sent them an email. I was like, I just bought this. I bought this 3 months ago. You're still bombarding me.
You're so nice.
No, because I was like, I was emailing with them something else, and I was like, you know, what are you doing? Like, there is some way, especially with AI, you should know that I bought this product from you. It's me. I had it at home. Why am I still open whenever I open my Facebook, Instagram?
But this is kind of like goes in a way because, you know, when you look at, you know, the whole analytics field, you know, you can have like the BI, you know, looking at historic data,
Yeah.
then you can take it to the next level where you have prescriptive, you know, then you're adding and enriching with something, and then you have completely predictive, like, you know, predicting what will happen, you know, to you as a consumer on your customer journey, where you are with kids, no kids, and so on. So in a way, we try to do that for retail, for Consum and Mercator, you know, how to basically do personalized promotions. So it's basically analyzing the baskets of what people buy, and then you, me, you know, Izet, they put in a certain typography of people, because, you know, when we match, you know, what was
Like
on the receipt.
Yeah,
No,
like
you know, what was on the receipt. We know through the loyalty, you know, where, you know, what are your demographics, likes and dislikes. And then, you know, like, although you bought the socks, you know, you will not be targeted with the socks unless you're in the kids category. And then we know that, you know, for the next 2 years, you're going to be buying diapers. But, you know, after that, it stops because you moved through your customer journey. But, you know, if you fall into the same category, typography of a persona, then we might offer you something what, you know, like a person that likes the pine strips suit, you know, they are also into something else. So we might offer you something what you have not even searched for. You know, so this is in a way where
That's the serendipity part.
This is a serendipity for us. It's a very much data-driven way. You know, like how you can be really sure, and then we measure how accurate these predictions are, and this is how you get the machine learning models to be smarter and smarter, and then hopefully we get to a better place.
All right, I think let's go back a little bit to Izet. Thinking about, again, you scaled companies, and when you're scaling, we are often very much focused on the operational efficiency, right? At least in principle, maybe not all of them, not all of the companies. But anyway, let's talk hypothetically. How do we measure, like, as we implement these technologies in search for operational efficiency, many of the employees might feel that, okay, this is it for me, right? I mean, how does it affect morale and job satisfaction? And, you know, mean, even now people are saying that in 10 years we are not going to need developers because actually AI is going to develop itself. We're just going to give it a query and boom. Maybe not 10, maybe a year, because like you said, nobody expected this explosion. Also, if you ask somebody 2 years ago, they will say, "Oh, this is probably 10 years away." So,
no, that's a very good point. I mean, perhaps as a start, I would say I will try to focus on the employees that will be affected the most. So certainly the first group that is affected the most with the generative AI are the entry-level positions, which will bring us to the problem of how do you become a senior if juniors are not needed. That's an interesting one. Second one is certainly individual contributors. So practically with the knowledge and the possibility to customize the models and the inputs for certain fields, like superstars of the company are not that needed, not that much needed anymore, or not needed at all, which is kind of scary, because usually that's what you want to be. You want to be the superstar of the company. Third would be highly paid people, like people that are paid much more than anyone else. They're becoming less valued through this prison. Unfortunately, I would certainly say women as well, and here I'm talking in general. So women are unfortunately in a position where they're doing many more repetitive works, and I'm talking in general in production and stuff, where practically robots can replace that easily. So middle management as well is very questionable whether you need it or not in this new paradigm. So given all those elements, there is a lot of.
so how does one become senior if you don't do juniors?
I know. I don't know. I haven't figured that one out, but it could be a good startup. No, but I mean, fact is,
because like we've seen that, right? We've seen that challenge. We've seen that. Yeah, but we've seen that challenge, for example, throughout the pandemic, and probably the Zoom work, and this is going to be much more discussed in the next panel. But where people were working over Zoom, where you have this start-stop mentality. Okay, 6 o'clock you start, 7 o'clock you're off. There is no that moment where a senior executive who's had a lifetime of experience can notice that brilliant young guy, and I'm looking at you, Leo, there, who's like, okay, he's gonna be our next star, our next champion, right? How does that happen if you have this 1 hour start, stop, have a nice day, and
I don't believe in
Dragan doesn't believe in it, so I'll give it the mic over to him. It's certainly a tough one. I mean, the large companies are certainly giving the opportunity to do cross training within the company and to try to work in different fields. But as I said, if you're closing down the entire entry level position and you're saying, look, we can do this automatically, no need. It's a very tough one. Like I don't have an answer for it, very frankly, at this stage.
right?
Maybe I can just add one thing. So I think that this was kind of like what happened during the pandemic. We went a little sideways. We went completely into this way of like, clock in, clock out, not be at work. When you look at what is happening with the productivity of workers, and that 2 weeks ago, Google, who was it, the Bazzar or somebody, basically you can be absent from the company maximum 2 days of week. Like you have to be there 3 times a week. You have to show up. There was a memo which leaked out, which was aimed at the senior directors, managers. This is what you will send to your employees. There is a direct correlation between the decrease of productivity and being absent from work. So I never believed in that concept, because especially if you're a startup, you cannot be collaborating and working in via FaceTime, Zoom or whatever. You have to be there. So you have to show up every day.
Maybe you're just too old, man.
Maybe I'm just too old. Well, but let's see who are the old ones. No, but I think that this is really also, the problem which we're facing today. It's like how to find this balance, because the newer generation are expecting this, but then I think that they're also starting to realize that it's not working out so easily.
All right, Lovro, you have something to add?
No, I was just saying we have our mics.
Okay. All right, so I would like just to close this up with a more philosophical question for everybody. About this, how does this affect our quest for truth and authenticity? When we are faced with this onslaught of AI-generated texts and articles, and I don't know. For example, I've seen, I do a lot in the side of PR and marketing, and we host a lot of journalists, and I just love it when a journalist writes an article that has that lifespan that's more than a day or a moment. When you go and reread something from 5 or 10 years ago, it's like there is an article written for Afar magazine, which is one of the leading hospital travel magazines in the world, about Dubrovnik. The guy wrote about Fiaka and what it means. Trust me, I don't think there is an AI, because he spoke about Pero and Luco and about how they sit there and drink that coffee and enjoy it. Trust me, there is no way an AI would have written this article, but you could feel this truth and authenticity. So, I just want to hear from you guys, just a couple of sentences. What do you think? How it affects us? Who would like to start here?
Well, I'll start. Well, I think that's what you say. It's basically creativity. So yes, you have a lot of apps today that can change your background, your face, whatever. You can make videos. You can do whatever, and it actually works. But it's not creative when you compare it to some other content that someone created. So if you compare a text like that, so AI will never understand the Fiaka, understand Dubrovnik, and understand everything. So there will always be.
Do you think it will create even a greater chasm between those who are really good at doing it and everything else?
The best one will always be the best in whatever field they are, whether it's writing, whether it is whatever else. But what they said is that AI will just basically replaceable.
Lovro.
Yeah, I agree with Tana. I mean, you mentioned it at the start. Now you see, you go on LinkedIn on your news feed and you see all of the people just started posting all of a sudden. I think you can pretty much tell when it's AI. You have text blocks, lots of emojis. So yeah, to answer your question, I feel like the top creators will remain there, and I think there's just going to be a bigger gap between people. But in terms of authenticity, it's going to create a problem, because nowadays, anyone can just type in a simple prompt, do an essay, and then post it anywhere online. So, yeah.
Okay, I'll be short. I think that talking about the creativity from the visual side, there are already digital watermarks which are in place since 6-7 months ago. So it's not easy to say, oh, I created this and it was DALL-E or Midjourney or something. I think it's more not. I'm really not for this for the replacement. I'm more that this is your assistant. You can start off the story about Jure, Kate, coffee. Maybe they will start with that, but then they will build on. And then maybe that story will be having the same level of authenticity. For you as a reader, you would feel, oh my God, this is an amazing article. It didn't take him a week, maybe it took him 2 days, so he can give you more of those articles.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's a fair,
speed,
it's a fair comment.
It's like an assistant that...
It's a fair comment, yeah.
From my perspective, generative AI will never have empathy, human empathy. So from that perspective, I think the already creative minds that will be put in a position to be even more creative, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, I think it's challenging in terms of the copyright mainly. It's because it's abusing somebody's work previously, and that's worrying from that perspective. But I'm not worried about creativity. I think people will become more and more creative.
All right, let's answer the question. Are large language models eroding the human element? Yes or no? Just
no.
Dragan?
No.
No.
All right.
4 no's.
4 no's. All right, let's give it up for our panel of Tana, Lovro, Dragan, Izet.